before we get started, I hope everyone has enjoyed this conference. Now, Ron will be rejoining the stage probably following me, and once Ron's done, that will conclude the conference for this year. What I'm about to cover is going to get knee deep, all right? I have been considering upon this matter for 9 months that if I was going to sell someone the end days in a crash course, as if I was giving a college lecture in 1 hour, what would I sell you? And by the way, this is free. I'm selling it to the mind. The presentation, I broke it down in 4 parts. If people didn't get the memo, this is the last days. I'll bet the farm on it, okay? The beginning of sorrows, the mark of the beast, the man of sin, and the 7 trumpets of Revelation. This is what we're going to cover this afternoon. And these are important because they all flow into each other. Another thing I want to share with you is this now. I didn't go home last night or the night before and share any of the content that the rest of the presenters have presented. You're going to see things in here that mirror other parts of other people's presentations, and it's a beautiful thing because that shows me that the multitude of us that are awoke are on a level field on thought process. We're seeing a lot of the same trends and things falling into place, and that's got to be the Spirit of God telling that. Because I didn't call Brother Josh up the other day, and we talk about the alien thing, and I'm going to share that in this presentation in a minute. I didn't call Brother Troy Miller up and share some of the slides about the calendar and some things. We didn't do that. So I'm going to begin. And so this right here, like I said, the goal of this presentation is to demonstrate we are living in the last days and the final generation of this age before the return of Mashiach. All right? Now, I started out with a funny, but it's not really funny. Me and Pastor Dow recently, I was visiting with him at his house at Straightway. We had a long conversation on the porch, and we were talking about, is people really awake now because of Corona? And I said, Elder, I just don't believe it. I said, because I'll tell you why. I've coined this, I got to get this trademark. It's called the toilet paper effect. Now, if you've seen the lady going to Costco, I believe it was, I couldn't find her picture. It's gone on Facebook. Or I wish I'd looked on people at Walmart or something. But anyway, the lady had bought like all the toilet paper that she could get in the buggy. I mean, it's Mount Over, folks. And then right as soon as things started to settle out, she was right there to return. Now, I pitched this to you that when the 7 trumpets start, that's exactly how most of the world is going to act too. It's going to be a third of the stars fall out of the heavens. And then the next week, hey man, did y'all catch the Falcons on the, oh man, Atlanta beat, that's how it's going to be. And so that, they've done this artwork funny on it and said, did anyone bring any food? And that's the thing, it's like the media induced that too. In our world today, we are being force-fed in the school systems, on the news, in political, even in church, follows movies, stuff like that. The thing about it is a lot of post-apocalyptic movies, a lot of them are set right now in our timeline. Like Mad Max was 2021, did anybody know that? A lot of the post-apocalyptic films that have been produced in recent years, timeline set for right now. Keep in mind that Agenda 2030, just like Ron shared earlier today, they are putting everything in full steam ahead over this decade, folks. We are living in extremely exciting times. So, just a quick review of the last 8 months in case anybody was in hibernation during 2020. We had the brush fires in Australia, another place in the world. This is current to the 10th day of the pagan month of August of 2020. All these volcanoes that you see red are burning right now. And all the yellow ones are pretty much cooking up, getting ready to go. We also seen pedo wood, also aka known as Hollywood. And anybody that knows studies about Hollywood, that's actually a magic wood stick that was used in ancient druids and stuff like that. And of course the Epstein Island thing, the missing children thing. We see how many elites, this goes right back to Baphomet, all the pedophilia, the satanic occult rituals cities burn, not only here but other places in the world. We've seen the rise of what I would call the Third Reich Nazi Germany with Antifa and all this other madness. I'm just waiting for somebody to throw up a sick hail on the side of the highway. We've seen Beirut blow up the other day. It looked like a miniature Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And not to mention, if you do a little more research on that, I found it interesting that in Lebanon, United Arab Emirates, China, Iraq, France, and England, following this, it was Russia. It spells Lucifer. If you put all the cities, or all the countries together, it actually spells out Lucifer if you start the first letter of all these places where all that went on the other day. Just weird, but I just want to share this for what it's worth. And of course, we have Roman 19, lest we all die, a 99-something% recovery rate currently. But let us all wear a mask. And alone together, hashtag alone together. It's a powerful, powerful thing when you think about it, because it's a play on words. We're further apart today than we've ever been in fellowship ever before. I mean, in movie theater, fellowship, going out to eat, it doesn't matter. We're further apart now as human beings than we ever have been before. That is not by accident, ladies and gentlemen, that's by design, because we are having the opportunity to be more awake now than ever before. And not to mention, these things are coming out, things that we've been asking questions about for a long time. Sorry, let me back up. Now, people ask, when is all this going to start? You know, and how do we know? Like, where's the hash mark off that says this is when the stuff hits the fan? Can you tell me that? And I can tell you yes, and I don't strive to be a prophet either. The beginning of sorrows, Elder Joe and Brother Joel that helped me organize this event for this year. It was about a decade ago, in a cold winter day at Joel's house. We were sitting there, and Brother Joe, correct me if I tell this wrong in any way. We were sitting there, we were having a discussion about the last days. And 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, came up. And these are some excerpts from the chapter, and I haven't forgotten this ever since. It's on my mind. I can almost quote it off the top of my memory, but I want to read through this slowly with everybody. Woe unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Now I want to pause. We break that down today. That's modern day Babylon is Iraq. Asia is Iran. Egypt is Egypt, or as you look in Scripture, Mitzrayim, Egypt, but that's what we call today Egypt. And Syria is Damascus. All right? So that's the 4 countries today that the Most High God Saints will be laid waste. And if anybody didn't notice, the other day I believe it was the United Arab Emirates, Trump and somebody else was all talking about peace talks. And y'all know when peace comes sudden destruction, right? Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair, and bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. Now I'm taking excerpts. I encourage you to please read the book of 2nd Ezra, especially chapter 16. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings. The beginning of sorrows. We have a hash mark. Now this gives us some kind of timeline, because following this, we know that when a great earthquake worldwide takes place, and a third of the stars fall out of heaven, folks, it's game time. There is no going back. Your ticket stub has been punched. Welcome to the game, all right? But right beforehand, at least we know a hash mark. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall be, and powers shall stand in fear. Think about that. People in authority, sovereigns of the earth, will stand in literal fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Further down, then shall they be known. See, then shall they be known. The salt of the earth in this room today, all right? When we're all laughed and mocked this morning, you know, I have people come back to me now after a decade and they say, Luke, what must I do to get ready? And I'm like, you better start yesterday. You know, because there's 2 types of people. There's those folks coming online now, and then there's folks that just take something. Let's take something out in the world right now. Chemtrails. People used to say, if you said chemtrails, they'd say you're a conspiracy theorist, an idiot. But it's public documented now. And you go back to them same people, and they won't say that you're a conspiracy theorist anymore. They'll just be like, well, it is what it is. And when the mark of the beast comes, it'll be, it is what it is. Okay? So then shall they be known who are mine chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Now, just so if anybody didn't get the memo, Noah was tried in a boat. Daniel was tried in a lion's den. Joseph was tried in the famine. But they all were kept from the trouble, okay? They were spared while others were removed, okay? You know, the righteous will inherit the earth, the wicked will be removed, all right? So we're going to get tried, but that doesn't mean that there ain't a reward at the end. Hear, O my beloved, saith Yahuwah, and I'm substituting in respect the Father's name in on this stuff, folks, because this is either from the KJV Bible or the New Living Translation to keep the simplistic flow for anybody that may not be familiar with the Hallowed Scriptures or the Sefer. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith Yahuwah, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same, just as he did Noah and others before. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Elohim is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments, all right? Let's all remember that through the days ahead. But here we go, just like Abraham did in his day, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith Yahuwah Elohim, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm still a sinful man. I stumble and slip along the way. But right now is the time when we need to be refining our minds, okay? Any pet sins, any stupidity in our life, let it die. Just let it die. Day of Atonement's coming this year. I got a bag of just stuff I've been putting in it. I'm like, I'm removing this from my life. It's going to burn. I'm going to burn that. And I think, honestly, I'm going to set sackcloth and ashes again this year. And that's going to be what I do. But I mean, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying that any sin in our life, though, it's really high time that we start ironing this stuff out, because we all got our own sins that we have to iron out. Now, I don't like telling anything without having a second witness. As the elder spoke, how I found things on Scripture, is there another witness? There absolutely is. And we can go even deeper on this stuff. I'm just wanting to make sure at least to get two witnesses to filter through this today. Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 17:1 says, the burden against Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease from being a city, and it will be a ruinous heap. The day you see Damascus laid bare is for certain the beginning of sorrows. Right here is one of the oldest cities in the world, and it has been prophesied that when it's laid destruction, that's a hashtag off for the beginning of sorrows. So that gives you some time to really consider when you see this event. Is it tomorrow when the trumpets start? Is it a year or two? Who knows? Only Most High Yah knows the day He's going to start this up. But we've got something to go on, all right? We've got something to start looking at. Now, I'm going to sell you the mark of the beast. I don't want you to take it at all, okay? But we got to understand something. The mark of the beast, and I'm going to get into this in these slides. The mark of the beast is either in the hand or the forehead. If you look at ancient Paleo-Hebrew, you look at the intents. Hand is on action. It is works. The forehead is mental agreement, all right? If that ain't so, then tell me why Hitler in the Third Reich made sure to fill the pineal gland, the decision-making center in your mind, with fluoride. Explain to me why they do that today in our water supply, because we have a decision-making area. They want us numb us down so that we don't make right decisions, sir, y'all. Now, what I want to do right now, it's almost prophetic looking. You can look in the past. I can show you today, and I'm going to show you tomorrow. And you don't even have to leave your seat. In 9/11, I work in construction. All right, I believe in stay in your lane. All right, if I come to the house and do electrical work, no, I ain't gonna bother you about your plumbing. All right, I'm not a plumber, but I'm a good electrician. I like to think I'm one of the best in the world. And I don't mean to be arrogant, but that right there is a controlled demolition. Now we're not here to talk about conspiracy theory. What I want to show you something is whether that it was internal thing done by our government against ourselves, false flag, or let's just say terrorists did do it. I mean, actually, somebody done that is a terrorist, whether they're in our government or not. But that's a controlled demolition. But what you got to understand is order out of chaos. Illuminati, Freemason, Jesuits, Satanic worship, and the cult, they all have an MO. They like to let you know revelation through predetermination to you, okay? So let me show you 11 years before. Bush Sr., read that line right there. Out of these troubled times, a new world can emerge. Dude, are we at a Freemason meeting? That's order out of chaos, ladies and gentlemen. this has been the Satan's servants and the wickedness of high places. They've been at work for this for a long time. We live in a generation now where you got to understand that as of the days of Noah, so shall come the Son of Man be. It's only capable to achieve these things now because the days of Noah was Nephilim, all right? And we are trying to hybridize mankind. Not only that, the things that were taking place in Noah's day, if we laundry listed out, we're falling right in line with it. And the important takeaway from this is that you can't just do this overnight. It's just systematic. And so the first thing that we have is an invisible enemy. Instead of seeing a swastika on the arm or the land of the rising sun on the Japanese soldiers or whatever war it may be fought, now we don't know. The person sitting next to this room today could be a terrorist. We don't know. And then, Then the next thing that's come up is Romans 19. It could be killing us as we sit here right now. But we can't see it, we can't touch it, but it's there. It's almost like electricity. I can't see it, but if I touch it, I know it's there. Just like the Most High Yah is there, and people need to start believing. But this right here, this is the second step to remove freedoms, because just as the Patriot Act in 9/11, now with the coronavirus, we've had more freedoms taken away than ever before. I literally travel this country and this world all the time. I'm gone now more than I'm home. And the other day at the TSA, I thought I was literally going to get hauled off and they held my driver's license that long. Keep in mind, I've never committed a crime, murdered no one. I don't run drugs. I could just keep going. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, we're getting to a point where that our freedoms are going to be gone. That biometric thing that Ron talked about, this ain't no joke. I mean, it's coming. Change one word in that right there. No mask, no entry. No mark, no entry. This is conditioning of the mind. This is step 2. We are at step 2 right now. Now, what I'm about to present to you is, as you see the other day, Brother Josh Key presented the creation. And he presented the importance of understanding flat earth, because if we understand the world in which we live, when we see that garbage, we know that it's a lie. Now, I don't care if a UFO landed right out there in the front yard today. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be one of two things about it. It's a false flag, or demons will walk out. All right? These are not here to help us. Aleister Crowley, all right? Whoever doesn't know who Aleister Crowley is, okay, one of the most wicked occultists that there ever was, said that when he's seen an actual demon materialize, when you see the sketch, I didn't put it in the slide, and I apologize, but it looks literally just like this right here. The only time a demon ever materialized to him, he was a master occultist, okay? Now, I want to go just a little bit deeper to sell you my case. CE4 Research Group, if you want to get this book, all right, I've got you the info right there. They've done these case studies, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies, and they found that any time people had a visitation from another world, or beings from another world, that they were actually interdimensional beings, and that if you cried out to Mashiach, the situation instantly stopped. Hence that it was demonic. They found this completely across the board, that this was the one thing that changed the whole dynamic with the whole believing in aliens thing. This is going to be a great deception in the last days, and I believe, and I can't tell you 100% this. I'm warning you this so that you may be prepared, because I'm going to show you the man of sin in just a second, promoting this too. Is that when you are told one day, you've got to take the mark, because we don't know if that's you without it, because this creature over here, or, there's so many variables. This is what they've been building for a long time. Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev, Mikhail Gorbachev, I believe is his name, from the way back in the day. All right, this is during the Cold War. I found this that Jenny Orr reported for the Christian Science Monitor. They were talking, and Gorbachev pretty much cut him off and said, from the fireside house, President Reagan suddenly said to him, "What would you do if the United States were suddenly attacked by someone from outer space? Would you help? We'll be right there for you." He said, "We too." You see, Satan knows that the things that are going on, it's got to be a great deception, all right? One that, you can almost deceive the very elect. Now this is the man of sin we'll get to in just a minute. I'm going to tell you that that's the man of sin, no doubt about it. I've got a ton of testimony to give. But Pope Francis said he would baptize aliens. Could you imagine if I stood up here at this conference today and told y'all I baptize aliens? Every one of you people would get up and walk out the door, and if you didn't, I'd be ashamed of it. This is madness, all right? But this is the preparing of the mind. Okay, that's a great war Babylon's leader right there telling the world that they did. Here's first time in the world. We have a space force. Looks like Star Trek logo. All right, they're getting geared up because when Mashiach does come back, people's going to be scared to death and go, oh my gosh, here comes these creatures again. When in fact, that sky dome's getting ripped open and it's a new kingdom coming, buddy. You better be ready for it. You better have your ticket ready to punch. Now, I'm going to pop into the man of sin just saying, I just want to share this. Do you remember, I can't remember if Ron had, was it Ron that had the reference to They Live earlier? All right, Ron had this up earlier today, all right, from a different angle. Now, I want you to think about this today, that these lenses that he's got on, that's our spiritual lenses, all right? Not literally those lenses, but we've got something different today. We've got the spiritual lenses right here. The world don't have that. And when you start applying that to the reality we live in, you know, you go to church and the pastor just talks about all this stuff, but he never really puts two and two together. He used to be a deacon in Free Will Baptist Church. I'll tell you 2 reasons I was done with it. It was the same old junk every other day and didn't want to keep the Father's commands. We got to get real, folks. This is right here in your face every day when you walk out the door. And our world's geared to keep us as far away from the Father as possible. There's so much happening, such a radical pace, that it's hard to even keep up with the madness anymore. And that's why we've got to stay rooted in the Word. But if we take those spiritual lenses, when we start seeing the third step in this thing, the cellular mark of the beast system, think about it. 9/11 happened, and 10 years later, what happened? Now it's Roma. The 2030 agenda, all right? It doesn't seem that Ron pointed that out, that it'd be like 2025, that this will be fully in place. That goes right in line for step 3 to take place. Now, I've done a presentation on my YouTube channel, if you want to check this out, that this is, in the media today, Foot Locker literally had almost all the 7 trumpets of Revelation in their Foot Locker ad recently. Now, I say this because it's normalized now. This is very normalized. They want you to feel normal about it. When I watched this, was the live stream, okay, of the SpaceX launch, and there was a rat on the rocket. It's made headlines around the world. All right, I think honestly though, I feel like I'm lying to y'all because I swear it's impossible. I've watched it again and again, and that little dude, he's just getting on it. But hey, I mean, I wish I could go up like 70,000 miles in space and not need a helmet, right? But nevertheless, we're being deceived by the powers that be. Now, we've been warned about this. Mashiach said, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. I'm going to tell you, I'm to the point right now where if an angel from heaven come down and stood right in front of me and said, look, it's how it's going to be, I'd be like, number one, I'm going to need a quote from you that the Most High God is sovereign over all creation. Mashiach is sovereign. And then I might still have a bill to list 100 different things before I even listen to a word he had to say. Now that's how numbed my mind is nowadays, because I want to not be deceived in anything. All right? When Messiah parts them clouds, buddy, I know it's game over, and that's all right. I'll be ready for that. I'll be prostrate on the ground praising. Now, just a reminder of this, like I said, right now, it's no mass, no service. One day, it's no more, no sale. This is a conditioning process. Revelation 13 speaks of this stuff coming. It could be a microchip. It could be put into us, the smart blood. There's a lot of different ways they're trying to put this in. You've seen how Ron also presented some options out that they're looking at. One thing about it is, like I said, if you look at the hand in Scripture, it is always a precursor for action. Okay? Now right here, I want to show you this, that the Scripture pretty much lays this out about the hand and the forehead. Revelation 7:3 says, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. Here's an example from Ezekiel. And Yahuwah said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for the abominations that are done in the midst thereof. A seal, okay, I know it says mark right there, but you look at that interchangeably. That's a seal. We have sold out to y'all in this building. I hope that everybody here is rooted in y'all. But there's two ways that people perish with the mark of the beast. People will be like, well, I ain't going to sign up with the Roman Catholic and worship her. I'm not going to worship this way. I'm not going to do as they say. I'm not going to do this calendar or do this or blah, blah, blah. But man, my baby's got to have milk. I got to go to the store and get something. Beep. And just like that, it's game over for them. There's no going back. Some people may be like, you know what, I ain't taking that mark. But I'm going to worship this way, and that's just how it's going to be. And I know it's contrary to Scripture, but I'm sorry, look, that's just how I'm going to do it. Just like that, it's game over. There's no going back from this stuff. Now, there's going to be somebody's central core. One thing I will appreciate from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, from leaving them, and for people who don't know me, I used to be a deacon at Free Will Baptist Church. I left there, went to Seventh-day Adventist Church, and from there on, I come to the way. That's how I like to refer to it, many of us others do. There's a central figure in this final event. There's going to be somebody at the front. Everybody's like, well, I'm waiting for the Antichrist to come. I'm waiting for the Antichrist to come. John talks about that there's many Antichrists. We're looking for a man of sin. Forget the Antichrist. People don't even want to serve God. I mean, it is Antichrist. I need to get like an Antichrist label maker. Like, I mean, we're looking for the man of sin. All right? Scripts give plenty of examples. You know, I read blueprints all the time for building something. All right, so let's look at all these blueprints for who this person is. Because if I have many examples and I can pinpoint to the same person, but if I go down through and I'm like, well, 4 out of these works for this person, but only 3 for this person, but I go over here and it's a line upon line, precept on precept. We got a winner. So you, the jury, today, I would like to, as a prosecution, as Brother Troy Miller done, I'd like to present to you some evidence as well, but it's not about the calendar right now. Revelation 17, 4 and 5, the Hazon, the vision that John got here. The woman, this man has a place where he comes from too. All right? I got a home I go to. So if I'm going to go looking for somebody trouble, they got to go somewhere at the end of the day, right? Well, here's his resting place. It's the Roman Catholic Church. The woman, meaning harlot church, was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup, full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots. So she's got other little children, okay? That's the churches that's come out of her. And harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Please keep in mind, there's sin, and there's different types of sin, and abomination is some of the worst, okay? I don't know how many times I've seen pastor blast people for homosexuality, and then they'll go right from there, go to the restaurant and eat pork. Like, how's that working out for you, bro? I mean, dang. You know, we don't get to pick and choose in this thing. So right here, this is what it is. If you go to Wikipedia, all right, we're just going to keep it as simple as possible. Catholic Church term is most often used among Catholics as Holy Mother Church. That's the Mother Church. From where all other church comes from. Folks, I've read Catholic catechism. I feel like sometimes I could have made better Roman Catholics than Roman Catholics. I'm telling y'all, I mean, like, I have read it so much, it sickens me. You wouldn't believe the abominations that's written in the Roman Catholic Church. But we got to figure out, is this for sure where this man of sin resides? Because right there, if we break this down, the Ark of the Covenant, when it was carried, it was blue put over. That was for the 10 Commandments. All right, that means the law. And then you'll see there was purple. There was other colors put over it. There was a way that it was carried. Do you see blue in that building? I don't see blue anywhere. I see purple and scarlet and the golden cup where they do the Eucharist and all that abomination on it. Man, she's got a lot of money. The Roman Catholic Church is one of the richest institutions in the world. Evidence 2. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. The Roman Catholic Church sits upon the 7-hilled city of Rome. All right? Now, some people's wanted to go, well, Israel and other places. The problem is we got to go every single line out. All right? Evidence 3. 2 Thessalonians 2:1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Mashiach Yahushua HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter from us, as that the day of Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalteth himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he as Elohim sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. And what you're about to see is the man of sin seated on the golden throne, and it's what it's supposed to be, one of the most important places to worship Elohim in the world. Now, if this was the temple, and this was the Holy of Holies, and we just keep going, inner court, outer court, I don't care if I would have even been born Israel, I'd be all the way out at the back end of the temple, prostrated on my face and worship on set-apart days. This joker's sitting on the throne like he runs the show. All right? He's going to die just like me one day. All right? This is an abomination. Matter of fact, if you look sometimes also in occultism, the cross is inverted. He'll sit sometimes on the throne underneath the occult sign where the cross is inverted too. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't get to give you that caveat. All right? Now, number 4. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, I'm obsessive compulsive, all right? I'm so grateful I am, because I look at numbers all the time. Numbers, consistency. And this is the thing, if I can find 666 multiple times, again and again and again and again, and it's attached to the same individual, then guess what you've got? You've got a winner. Now, here we go. Titles of the Roman Catholic Church that add up to 666, and please forgive me, I just can't compile them all right? But I'm going to give you some kind of a menu board full here today. The Italian Church, Vicar of, I'm going to try to translate that one, just Elohim's son. Head of the clergy, Latin kingdom, Latin-speaking man. But I want to hone in on this one for a second. To stand in the place of some Yah, I would never take those words into my mouth. Now, if you look, Brother Josh Keefe lit in on the globe of Earth right there. The Vatican, the heliocentric model, I think it was Copernicus, and the Jesuits and all this stuff. This also derived from the Roman Catholic Church. The world we live in today. This is crazy stuff, folks. The earth revolves around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. And I had to fact check this other day, because it's been a minute since I got into flat earth, because YouTube just shuts me down anymore and talk about it, so I just try to focus on salvational stuff. I don't want to talk anymore, but curvature of 1 mile, 0.666 feet. Also at 10 mile, it's exactly 66.6, I believe it is. I seen that the other day when I was researching more back over this. Earth tilts at 66.6. Now keep in mind that the globe model came from the Roman Catholic Church as well. And the Pope put his seal of approval on it. Evidence 5. Revelation 17:6 says, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. Now please keep in mind that when the Eucharist is given, that's supposed to be Messiah re-sacrificed every single service at Mass. Alright? Blasphemy. Now keep in mind this too, when you envision, now that we see this beast power, so we know that it's a kingdom, and we know what the 7 heads are, we know the purple and scarlet, we're starting to see all this come together as an entity. Then we look to see, well, what entity done that? Here is the Spanish Inquisition. Master Yah, I hope you reward these servants greatly. You know, one day, folks, I knew there would be children in this today, so I didn't put like the modern day guillotines and stuff that we're probably going to face, the FEMA camps and everything else. You know, but this right here, these people went through great things and trials dealing with the man of sin for their faith in Yeshua. And I hope they held firm to the end. But she is drunk with the blood of the saints. I mean, you know, Hitler, Mayo, Stalin, they could have learned something from the Roman Catholic Church. They just nothing compared to these jokers. All right. Number 6, Revelation 13:14. and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Now some of these things are going to come to pass soon too. That saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Now, this happened too, because once again this was a kingdom. This deadly wound was inflicted. Now, Seventh-day Adventist Church goes in on this a lot, but the thing about it is it did happen. General Berthier come in and took the Pope's power there in 1798. They got shut down for business of abomination, and in 1929 they got opened back up. And the heel wound of many years there, you see Cardinal Gaspari. And here was the Lateran Treaty signed in 1929, giving them a kingdom back. And this point in time, the Pope was no longer just a Pope, he was a sovereign. So now we start counting kings, okay? Evidence 7. And there are 7 kings. Now this is important because Johanan was taken to a special place in time in history, okay? 5 are fallen, and when he is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, and the beast that was not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now people say, well, these are kingdoms, Luke. There's a lot of different things on that, but this is what is important to understand. Never has there been 2 popes, okay? Never has there been 2 popes. They are still alive. The one that has not yet come, and the one that comes will continue a short space at the end, okay? Both of those are still alive. One's 90, one's 90 something. The other one's, they're very, very old, okay? 2030 agenda, folks. Please keep this in mind. 2030 agenda. They can't make it past 2030. All right? I just don't see their health lasting that long. Okay? We all have a ticket that gets punched, and theirs is about to come up. So if this timeline is accurate, then we're living in the very last days before Mashiach comes back, because we're in the time of these last kings, because these men of sin, okay, that current man of sin, that's the 8th and last king, because these are now sovereigns. All the kings before them weren't sovereigns, okay? They ruled over the sovereigns of the earth. They'd send a papal bull to a king and be like, dude, you're excommunicated from heaven. You're going to burn in hell forever. And that king seated on the throne would be like, oh man, we got to do something, because I can't lose my faith. I can't lose my salvation. But now they were actually sovereigns. Now they're actually sovereigns. All right? Evidence 8. Now this is the New Living Translation. I went to this because people want to say times of so many different things. And I want people to look at this in just regular transliterated English in the most common terms to see that literally it talks about the point of feast. It says, he will defy the Most High and oppress the set apart with the holy people of the Most High. He will try to change their sacred festivals and laws. So this entity had to try to double tap and do them both, okay? Right here. And they will be placed under his control for a time, times, and a half time. Now, Troy went in on this the other day. There's been many calendars through the ages. This is a Festes Antiochus Melboris calendar. It was an 8-day lunisolar, pagan, Roman calendar with an 8-day work week. We move forward. Stick calendar. This was where it's a T-day, the pagan deity. I don't like to say pagan days and weeks, folks, so please just bear with me. It's a T-day. Used to be the first day of the week, then it got moved to Issue-in Day got moved to the first day of the week because it was a prominent day of worship. Sun worshippers got more prevalent. Here's a little bit better screen grab so we can see all the pagan deities. On the stick calendar, this was found in the baths in Titus and Rome. If you travel the world, hey, all you gotta do is just walk up to the museum, look at these things. I ain't just putting this together. That's still available to see today. Festes Antiochus is multiple pieces of it's in a catalog and saved in a museum today, just like Indiana Jones style. Right here. This is important to understand that 2011, the SDA Church had to start doing Issue-in Days of worship because of time change in the Pacific, moving business in American Samoa over to do more business with China and the land of the East. So what happened was a day got shifted in time. We've seen this excuse me, multiple times through history. The stick counter, when it got shifted, a day and time was moved. Right here, this is modern times, folks. The SDA church over there in Samoa worships on SUN Day. So now I'm a lunar Sabbath keeper, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm an SAT Day worshiper, and I live up in Samoa. Now they're going to church on SUN Day. Am I going to go back to church? This is madness and confusion. But when you look up at the time clock in the sky, you don't have to worry about this stuff. All right? You don't have to look at a man-made calendar alone. Here we go. 10 days was lost in time because the self-exalted ones decided that they had lost track of their count on their calendar. So yet it had to be edited again from the Julian to Gregorian. This was made a statement in the Catholic Church. You got to understand something. Just like the SDA Church signed an accord with the Roman Church recently, and I put a YouTube video about that, and it is factual true. And people just got all over their fields, and I just don't care about the fields no more. If you've got the truth, tell it to me. I want to get cut, and I want to get my life in order. These people need to figure this out too. The Catholic Church literally says that SUN Day is their mark of authority, but it goes much deeper than that. The whole calendar is their mark of authority. All right? So much deeper than that. That's why I tell my brothers and sisters to keep lunar Sabbath, SAT Day, or SUN Day. I love it, and I'm not worried about it at all. Matter of fact, you go to Sabbath on SAT Day next week, still love it. You go to church on SUN Day next week, still love it. If you go to Sabbath, when you see it's Sabbath next week, still love it. You know why? Because we all going to get that come to Mashiach meeting soon, when this world calendar gets put out here. I'm going to jump down and show you all this. It's real simple. We have the pagan days of the week as they always have been since we've known them. We have a world day. It doesn't count. All right, so you just went to church on SAT Day. Next day on World Day, what is it? Somebody answer me. It's nothing. Now you've lost a day in time. Congratulations. Now, the leap year gives you the World Day in the middle. At the end of the year, you get an additional World Day. So if the next year is supposed to start on SUN Day, what is it actually starting on? 2 days later. This is madness, but it's coming. And that's why I don't care. You've seen people thought it was just the most radical thing to bring all these people that have so many different ways they keep Sabbath and their beliefs, thoughts. Luke doesn't care anymore because I know there's a day coming where we're all going to be one mind and one accord, because the only other option is Babylon and the beast. All right? It's not Beauty and the Beast, it's Babylon and the beast. So, this world calendar, I was almost surprised in 2015 it wasn't enacted. Me and Troy actually had an intellectual discussion about this the other day because it would have been the perfect time, but they missed it. So now I've got to do some search this year on the 2030 agenda to see where this fits in. Okay, who knows, maybe 2025 again. Because they could have started off the old calendar just like the Julian to the Gregorian and went right into this one. Okay, but this is their intent, and Rome will put their seal on this eventually, from what I understand. So it's time we really start questioning when it's Sabbath, okay? Because I'm not going to be up on the way. But I will say this: whose calendar when you worship determines when you worship. That's just facts, folks. Okay? Now, preparing for the trumpets, the 7 trumpets of Revelation. They are coming. I may die during it. And matter of fact, I'm going to tell you all a quick little side caveat here, and I'm running right on time. I'm going to keep this 3 minutes so I stay on time. I got married, and 3 days later I died. True story. I woke up at 2 a.m., and my heart had stopped for what seemed to be about 10-15 minutes. It was cold as ice. I wasn't breathing, and I woke up, and I felt blood start. I felt my heart like, everything started going back normal again. And you know how like your arm falls asleep? Like, dude, my whole body was just like that, And here it was just 3 days after I got married this year. And I've never had that happen, and I guess they say it's sleep apnea that can cause this phenomenon or whatever. I'm going to get it looked at. I'm going to go with a doctor. I've just been very busy. But I woke up and I thought to myself, man, if I died tonight, I feel like I died in a good place. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was in a good place. Decade ago, if I'd have died, I'll be honest with you, I think I would have been burnt in the last great judgment. All right, so, we need to find that kind of peace now. Because, man, when the trumpets start, I want to be walking down the street, my beat rate on my heart don't even go over 80. You know, like, Ashport hit right there beside me, and I'm just like, keep on cutting the grass. You know, like, we need to get that point in place with our faith and walk with Master. Now, as a prepper, and it's, you know, plus I do this construction for people all the time anymore, I try to keep this in mind when I do construction for people, especially those that look faith. Just like I modeled it for my family's farm over the years. It's because, you know, as a farmer, a third of the green grass is going to get burned up. All right? I want just to keep this in mind as we look at prepping in a second for the trumpets. A third of the sea becomes blood. They just came out with a new piece of equipment. Email me at 7TRUMPETSPREPPER@gmail.com. I'll get it to you if these guys live next to the ocean. There's no doubt in my mind the ocean water is going to get flooded in probably about 500 miles in around our continent and many other places in the world whenever trumpets start. There's a new machine that they got. It's like $70. You can pump it and it will desalinate water for you. It filters it too, so you drink it like, you know, any bacteria and stuff like that. They got that project funded like over 600%. People jumped all over. As soon as I seen it, it's like, this is unbelievable. But, you know, thankfully, just like it says in Scripture, in the end days, men will run to and fro, knowledge will increase, and the end will come. Heck, we can even desalinate water on the go now. So, I mean, there's a lot of preps we need to consider. That's one I didn't put in this presentation, but it's an honorable mention. A third of the sea becomes blood, a third of the ships and the sea life is destroyed. A third of the water turns bitter. A third of the sun, moon, and stars do not shine. Fifth one, locusts. We can also look at this as demons. Wield the beast's military power. Because keep in mind, we are saying the man of sin said that he'd totally hook up with these fallen angels and demons. Got the sixth one, 200 man, a million man army, a third of mankind killed. River Euphrates is currently, from what I understand, pretty much about dried up. And Scripture talks about in the last days the river Euphrates being dried up for the kings of the east to come this way. China's already got a massive, multi-million man army together. I think they have capped over 200 million at this point, and they're on the India border because they got a dispute about land in India. And it's going to look like the board down the risk before it's over. It's like, ooh, got India. Ooh, Saudi Arabia. You know, I can just see this. All right, so just try to visualize that. Trumpet 6 right there at the doorstep too. And lastly, 7, the kingdom of Elohim is declared. Bowls of wrath poured out on the wicked. And we're not going to get into the bowls of wrath because the righteous is protected during that time, but we need to worry about, just like in Moshe's day, the plagues and junk we're going to deal with as we're coming out of Egypt, right? So in this last 15 minutes, I'm going to cover the 3 topic points we're going to cover. So what can we do to prepare, okay? What are the types of preparation? How does these apply to the final events now? Elder Pastor Dow spoke with us earlier today about the importance of food and so many other preps, and he's dead on. I mean, we just need to prioritize this stuff as much as possible. But we got to start right here. Is some of us are spiritually more ready than others. Some of us are more physically prepared than others. This is why community, like he talked about, is so imperative. It's more imperative now than ever. You know, I'm to the point in a couple years because of a situation in the past. I just want to make sure I get this right, because in 2 years I'm going to make sure to change my life insurance policy so in case I do die, a multitude of people on my list gets something whenever I die, so that at least they can do something for their families and for the rest of the assembly. What are the types of preparation? We're going to get food, water, shelter, sanitation, power. Honorable mentions, just like my peacemaker and my Bible bag back there, we all should go strapped so we don't get clapped. All right? Now, how does it apply to the final events? Now, you got to imagine all this now. This is going to go down. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the when is probably sooner than the latter. Greenland comes out on the 20th of this month. I always keep an eye on Hollywood and Hollyweird, I guess I should say now, because of the pedophile situation. This Greenland film, it's very interesting because it's the beginning of the trumpets, okay? And out of all the movies that could have come out during Rome, this one slipped right through the crack. It's the one of the few films that actually made it out. And I was like, are y'all trying to tell us something? Y'all in the know? Because now keep in mind, the Vatican also owns Lucifer in Arizona, and that's the binocular telescope that they use to search for other live planets and all that stuff. So I'm sure that they're trying to keep an eye for the trumpet start too. And this is what scripts say. Woe to you who are longing for the day of Yahuwah. What does the day of Yahuwah mean to you? It is darkness and not light. It's when a man flees from a lion and a bear shall meet him, or entered in his house, rested his hand on the wall, and a serpent shall bite him. Is not the day of Yahuwah darkness and not light? It is not. Very dark with no brightness in it. Now, so the first thing we're going to see is a third of the stars fall out of heaven. And I'm going to be the mainstream media for a minute. I'm going to be the bad guy for a minute. I'm going to try to sell you all the news ahead of time. Okay? Here's what's going to happen. A third of the stars are going to fall out of heaven. Australia's going to be lit up. West Coast's going to be lit up. All these places just going to be lit up all over the world. And they're going to be like, well, it was past an asteroid shower, blah, 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 blah. About 2 weeks later, lady's going to be back at Costco dropping off her toilet paper. Time goes on. Now, I want you to understand that I'm not 100% behind this one. I'm still torn on this. I don't know if it's going to be this one, okay? I'm sorry. Or the other. So let me run the two scenarios. This is possibly one of the two scenarios. It says that the mountain, all right, this mountain. Now, that John could have possibly seen an asteroid, but the more I've come to the knowledge of the flat Earth, I'm leaning on the second one, where the people talk about the Canary Islands. So, you see this asteroid hit, just like the movie Greenland's coming out, there's this massive tidal wave coming in. I'm starting to believe this is going to be more of it. With all the volcanoes coming online, I can just see a massive mountain, all right, come up, explode in the middle of the Atlantic, flood inland, all right? And the reason I feel like that it's going to be in the Atlantic, that we're going to see Trumpet 2 take place, a third of the shipping industry is in the Atlantic, okay? Now, it could be in the Pacific, but the problem is, Fukushima, all this other nonsense, if I was most high, I'd be like, you know what, man's trashed that up enough, I'll take care of the Atlantic for him. Now, the next thing we're going to see, I'm sorry, I messed up there. Yeah, I didn't have that slide for it. So the next thing, you see, don't pay attention to slide on the thing for a second, but we see wormwood and the bitterness of the water and stuff. Now, same thing. Probably going to happen to the Great Lakes, other places where there's a third of the freshwater reserves of the world, and then the media is going to downplay it as some nonsense. The one that I think where it's going to be that power curve, and where that just like in the days in Egypt, that it stopped affecting everybody and only the Egyptians. I think this is going to be that transitory time for those of us in faith, because Master Yah's clock, I think, is going to be divinely reset during this time. Now, I can't show you chapter, line, verse on that. I'm just telling you my opinion right now. I want to reaffirm that this is an opinion. Because in the days of Hezekiah, when he was going to die, the prophet come to him and said, man, you're going to die. And then he prayed, he turned on his side, and he said, oh, please, I'm just summarizing, don't let me die. Next thing you know, the prophet comes back shortly thereafter. Hey, just so you know, you're not going to die. He's like, well, I don't believe you. And then he's like, well, you want the sundial to go forward or back? He's like, we'll make it go back, because it's a small thing for it to go forward. So there's a slight shift, okay? And Elder Troy Miller didn't get into this, and I'm not going to get into it today, but, you find in Scriptural one account, people's like, oh, the 13th month ain't right, that's not right. But you can actually find the account of it in the Scripture, where the prophet laid on the side for the sins of Israel, then back on the other side for the sins of Judah. You add it up, it's a 13-month situation. But the thing I want to point out is at this point in time, I think for those of us that keep the Father's calendar, it's going to be very crystal clear to be able to keep this. I don't think there's going to be any issues. Matter of fact, if a third of the lights in the sky go dim, I would almost think the two larger lights in the heaven would actually shine brighter. Okay? Because if I go in the house and turn lights on, then I turn the LED lights on, it kind of takes away from the larger lights. But if I dim down some of the other lights, it's going to be a lot easier to see those. Okay? All right, here we go. We've got water's turned into blood. We're going to have a lot of crazy stuff going on and contaminated, especially the water. And so this, like I said, an honorable mention with the salt desalination machine. I don't have it with me at the moment, but if you will email me, the number 7TRUMPETSPREPPER@gmail.com, I'll get it for you. Now, I've used a lot of these products over the years. I've drank water from that survival still. The inventor designed this. It's an outstanding device to use. You just put water in, boil it. I know it almost looks like a moonshine machine, but it works. Sawyer, 100,000 gallon guarantee on them, I believe is what they give nowadays. Life straw is great on the go. I keep it in my go bag that is like fly allowed. I tell y'all what, if y'all get with me after this conference, I'll even tell you some protection that you can take with you. I fly with it all the time, and TSA people, they just miss it every time I walk through. I'm like, sorry. And they never catch it. I've been on a cruise ship with it. I've been on flights with it. It's funny, man. I've been around the world with that thing. They took it from me yet, but it took my little mini box cutter. And this was a tiny mini box cutter they took it. I forgot to take it off the keychain. Anyway, you can take that on. I'm sure it's TSA approved. I've made it through mine so many times. This right here is an NBC water filter, okay? And the big thing about this is now, when it gets to the nitty-gritty, really nasty, radiological, biological kind of stuff, it's designed for that, but it's for a very minimal amount. It's like 20 gallons, okay? Next thing is the Berkey. It's great for just rain catchment, stuff like that, but you also want the heavy, wide filters for heavy metals and stuff like that, because, you know, they're spraying skies with barium and aluminum, which if you take the elemental chart and put BA with AL, you get the false divinity. So, I mean, they got to do everything in the world on or say. Essential water, if you're going to just store bottled water, the good thing about essential water is it's high pH. People's like, man, if you drink too much high pH water, Luke, you can just die. I'm like, dude, did you just see that I went down to Taco Bell and ate a taco today? You know how much acid that is? Like, there's the acidic food we eat anymore. I bet you could drink high pH water all day long and not drop out. And the best thing of all is having a weight. Okay, you just cannot beat having a weight. All right. Next up, food. Now I'm not going to stay on this long as Pastor Dale. Definitely made a good point on stuff today. Canned food's great. All right, and canned food you just can't beat it. MRE, because that's the real stuff. You grew it, you know what's in there, you know what you get back out. MREs, only bad thing about getting MREs, a lot of it has profane abomination in it. It's like you get the pig poke and all in it, so you have to be real careful with buying MREs by the case. You can get individuals and you're all right with it. The 20-year shelf life cans, if you get them, the good thing is to get a lid, an extra lid per can, and put on the bottom, because when they sit on metal shelves, that's the only fallout on these. The cans rust out real bad, okay, especially if you're in a humid place. Canned food, you know, salmon, there's a lot, did I say that right? Where's that? It's salmon. Is it salmon? I get caught with that one a lot. Salmon and other canned meats, things like that, things that last 3 to 5 years. There's some stuff that lasts a long time. Man, you know, get some peanut butter. I get up at like 12 at night, I can't sleep, I eat some peanut butter. Man, I'm telling you what, I'm enlarging my borders, all right? Peanut butter will get you through on hard times, all right? I just wouldn't eat it all day, every day. Then you can vacuum seal stuff. They make those freeze dryers and vacuum sealers nowadays. The last honorable mention, and it's not even honorable, but you know, you gotta be careful with these food buckets, because there's enough salt in that to preserve you over twice. The salt content in it's just madness, all right? But other than the sodium issue, a lot of that bucket food, you can get by on. Now, I don't have this book anymore. I left it with one of the honorable pastors up there at the New Bethel Church in New York, brothers and sisters of faith up there. I left it with them. He's a realtor. He can help a lot of people up there. But now, this is only in PDF form right now that you can purchase, it seems like. Because the hardcover print, they're just not out there to be had right now. But if you look this up, it's Strategic Relocation by Joel Scouts, and he done for a career pretty much what I do right now for people, but just a little bit more uptick and like larger jobs and contracts and stuff like that for the government. All right, now shelter. Excuse me. Jamaican Cottage Shop is like, you see that house right there. They're out in Vermont, I believe. That you can get these small kits, ship out to your land. Say that you can at least get one up right now and you can store the other away. Believe me, folks, when 7 Trumpets Revelation starts and your job's gone and everything else is gone and reality's gone, the TV, you'll have a week to throw that up in the backyard with your family, okay? So, buy the kit, put it in the barn. And if you can't get to it today, I promise you'll get to it then. A yurt can go up in a day, all right? Now, the only thing about it is People live in these things. I put solar up for these people living in these things. That's a 3-season house. It's not a 4-season house for me. All right, so don't nobody don't build one bill, man. Look, I'm freezing to death this winter, but I can help. So the only thing about it, get a fireplace in it, double insulate the bottom on the platform. Tiny house on wheels. They're great. They're not for everybody, but the thing about it is it's mobile. You can take it with you. My friend Randy builds those at like $15,000. We've got a 16-foot tiny house, okay? And I'm not trying to sell a house for Randy. I'm just saying, like, you can even have something in such a small investment, and then you can go all the way up luxury. Earthen homes can be dug out and built pretty efficiently nowadays. There's plenty of information online for that. The sandbags, all the stuff to build up the retaining walls, things like that. RV, it's once again, it's mobile, it's a backup. You can get a lot of those off of Lego, eBay, places like that as a backup. That right there, the Yukon 10, believe it or not, that's for extreme cold, but I wouldn't want to live out of that. But just in case you have that out of your cabin or whatever as a backup in case something happens to your actual regular place. This is the thing people don't think about, all right? Sanitation. They sell portable sanitation stations nowadays. You can dig an outhouse on your property in a lot of places that don't have restrictions. But you need to think about this because like right here, this instant hot water, hot shower, whenever you want to take a warm shower later down the road, folks, that's the one luxury I just don't want to give up. And I don't mind getting dirty. I want to get clean. I worked in Alaska for a week straight. And when I went to the shower house place out there in the middle of town, I was ready to give my money as soon as possible because being dirty for a week it ain't no fun. But you need to really consider about this because there's solar water heating outside. There's so many different ways that you can heat water if you, and like I said, with a fireplace too. But they even make this where it's battery powered so that you can even pump. So there's a lot of simple setups that you can solar power. It's not going to be like that 5 shower head thing that you see Kohler sell or whatever. I guarantee you it's going to beat the dirt off of it. Next up is, this is my lane that I drive in. Wind power, for the most of us, it's supplemental. If you're going to invest in alternative energy for being ready for the trumpets, when the power goes off for good, this is not where you start. We'll jump down. This right here is thermoelectric power. Thermoelectric's okay, but it's just for smaller stuff. They don't sell this on a large application anymore. And, it's just like we don't have a coal-fired plants much anymore. Those days are done. But that is useful for just on the go for small equipment and USB and things like that. If you have a stream on your land, hydroelectric power is the best power you can have. It runs 24/7 all year long, no questions asked if you've got enough drop and head power. This right here is a wood gasifier on this string. This is a much nicer put together wood gasifier, but I've shown it on my YouTube channel years ago. If you'll just type in 7TRUMPETSPREPPER wood gasifier. We threw one together in the backyard for a couple $100. It'll run the generator, okay? You just need to make one modification to what we showed how to build in the past. Make sure that ammo can to put like y'all seen the kitty litter bags where they got like the thing and you pick it up and it still lets the other litter go through? You need to have a bag like that so that it catches all that extra gunk off the wood that you gasified so that when you change the filter out, you just grab and go in with the next one. And lastly, Leonard's woke me up. I'm not going to say solar no more because now I know the truth about that. Where that comes from is I'm going to say alternative energy with photovoltaic panels. Photovoltaic panels are absolutely the way to go. And you can, we figured out how to do this like Lego blocks now. You can do it a little at a time, come back later, add more, come back later and add more. And that's the way that we try to work for customers nowadays to keep it affordable. But if you want to have dependable power, especially if you have medical equipment, people that need insulin, refrigerated, things like that, aside from hydroelectric, that's the next best thing. And I encourage you to have some, okay? Because it don't even take but like a couple $1,000 watts to have a freezer or refrigerator running respectively, okay? And if you ever want to do off-grid stuff, you can hit me up at offgridcontractor.com. I can help you with all that stuff planned. But the question that needs to be asked is, are you ready? This conference 9 months ago, I spoke with Brother Joel, and he told me years ago, whenever we were coming up here to pay the tab for this place, that he had thought about having a conference and calling it Restoring the Foundations. And I believe that the only reason that didn't come to fruition then was because now's the time that the conversation needs to be had. I believe that's the only reason they got held up. And I'm so glad my brother was able to help me with this, and my wife, because without them, I wouldn't have got it done. We are living in the last days. We have got to get ready because we don't want to be caught in that mess called the city. We need to get up out of Babylon. We need to get out of the woods. We need to get out somewhere that's safe. We need to build communities. We need to do anything we can to get out of here, okay? Because then people will consume themselves and sober one day. And I was thinking about something Pastor Dow said earlier today too. It's about casting the money in the streets. In Venezuela today, if you walk in Venezuela, there's money littered all over the road. People's just throwing out their cash because it was worthless. Okay? That also shows you how socialism works for you too. If you want to read The Road to Serfdom, it's a great book about pre-Nazi Germany. Not to get off subject. But we are headed in a terrible direction. This is where our mind needs to be right now. We need to be asking ourselves that every day. Are we ready spiritually, mentally, physically? I want to thank everyone for attending this year's conference. I hope that the work that we've done and the 9 months of planning, to execute this, I hope it was helpful, edifying, and blessing to everyone. I had no idea 9 months ago that the world was going to fall apart. Now, we've got 1 hour left before we're out of the building. Brother Ron's going to come up. I'm going to swap the laptops out. I'm going to let him finish his presentation. I want to apologize to y'all earlier that we had to interrupt that. I just didn't know how that was going to shift on the time for the other speakers, but we're going to make sure to accommodate that in the conference center. It's going to allow us to use the additional time. They said not to worry about it. So, once again, I just want to say thank you so much for coming out. We're going to figure out every way possible to make it happen again next year. Most high y'all.
Did it cut out? That's okay. That's all right. It don't surprise me. I figured that would do that. Did you record the whole thing?
No.